Hi everyone, welcome back to the Self-Sufficient Homestead. My name is Tanya Milan and today we are going to work with a humble apple. Now I'm going to make two products from this and it's going to be probiotic products, but only one of these will be featured in this specific video. In my next video I will show you the second one. So the first video we will be making apple cider vinegar. The second video we will be using another part of the apple to culture Saccharomyces Boulardii, which is a yeast and a probiotic for our body. So two powerful probiotics we will be making in the next two videos. So for video number one, which is apple cider vinegar, I'm going to be using the peels and the cores of the apples. And for the second video, I will be using the flesh of the apples. Now, you can use any type of apple. It will influence the flavor of your end product, but it will be a probiotic apple product, so that would be great. When you choose apples to use for your apple cider vinegar, it's always good to have an organic apple. I could not find organic apples, so I am using normal store-bought apples, which I just washed thoroughly. Not with anything in it, because we need the yeasts and bacteria on the peels of the fruit to be able to ferment. So it is a sacrifice that I'm making, but I would like to show you how to do this. So let's go ahead and do it. Now, essentially we are not making apple cider vinegar, we're making apple vinegar, because apple cider vinegar is technically made with apple juice and apple juice only. But we are going to use the scraps, like the peels and the cores of the apple. So technically we're making apple vinegar, but it's so commonly known as apple cider vinegar, we'll stick to that. Now you will ask me, the next question is, inside the core there are pips. And doesn't apple pips contain cyanide? That is correct. And cyanide is a poison. However, apple pip has a really hard casing around it, and if you ingest it just like this, it will enter your body whole and it will leave your body whole. For you to actually absorb the cyanide in these pips, you have to chew these pips. Now, you need a minimum of 80 of these pips that are well chewed to start being poisoned by cyanide. So I think we're safe. Also, my apples not being organic, what I did was, at the top of the apple, where it was attached to the tree, I cut that part off and I'm discarding it, because this little hole here is referred to as the pesticide pool. And if you think about them spraying apples, the pesticide would, in a liquid form, go lie there in that little hole. And that's why they call it the pesticide pool. So I've cut off all the pesticide pools just to make it a bit better for myself and not having to use these. So vinegar is a live culture fermentation. And we are going to do a wild yeast fermentation, which means we are using the yeasts and bacteria on the peels itself. We are not going to be using a mother or a starter culture. Fermentation takes place in two phases. First of all, the fruit contains a lot of sugar. The sugar inside the fruit, which in this case is the apple, feeds the yeast that is naturally occurring on the peels. And the yeast then converts these sugars into alcohol. That's your first phase of fermentation. Then your second phase of fermentation starts, where a bacteria called the Acidobacter converts the alcohol into acetic acid, but it needs to be in the presence of oxygen. In other words, when we have our jar, it needs to have a breathable lid, because the Acidobacter needs oxygen to turn the alcohol into acetic acid. And acetic acid is what gives your vinegar its acidity and its sour flavor, and that in essence is vinegar. When the two phases of fermentation is complete, your vinegar will have 0 alcohol and 0 sugar left in it. It will just be a probiotic-rich raw apple cider vinegar. So when we make apple cider vinegar, we want a really clean jar. It doesn't need to be a sterilized jar, but we need it to be clean. And when I mean clean, I mean the following. We're going to use some soap on a sponge, warm water, And we're just going to wash it out on the inside so we know that it's 100% clean. Make sure to rinse out all the soap. And this is how you need your jar. Our jar is beautifully clean. So next up we need to put our apple scraps in. Now the minimum that you can put into your jar is half, and you can put it up to all the way to the top if you wish. So I'm just going to see how much we need for this jar. Without throwing it on the floor. Could be making another jar of vinegar. This is such a lot. Next up is sugar. So for every 1 liter of water, we're going to need 3 tablespoons of sugar. This is a 3 liter container, so I'm going to be using 9 tablespoons of sugar. Now you can make apple cider vinegar without sugar. However, the sugar just makes your apple cider vinegar so much robust and stronger. The sugars inside your apple is enough to feed your microbes, but you want this fermentation process to happen as quick as possible to prevent things like mold, etc. to get into your ferment. So the sugar aids with that. The only prerequisite for your sugar is that it should be unbleached. If it is white sugar, brown sugar, caramel sugar, it doesn't matter, just unbleached. Next up, we're going to add our water. Water for a ferment should always be non-chlorinated. So you can use borehole water, reverse osmosis water, bottled water, but not chlorinated municipal water. This ferment has to be covered with a breathable top. So a coffee filter would work, or a piece of cloth. I've got kitchen paper towel at the moment, and I am going to just close it with an elastic band. What needs to happen for the next 30 days is you need to open it up once a day and stir your vinegar. This is first of all to prevent mold from forming on your ferment, and secondly, it incorporates more oxygen into your mixture, which will help the Acetobacter bacteria to turn it into acetic acid in the second fermentation process. Something important to remember is that we write the date on, so we know which date we started this ferment. So what you can expect to observe from your apple cider vinegar, within 2 to 3 days you will start seeing bubbles. That is the CO2 that is being produced by the microorganisms inside your solution in your bottle. By day 7 to 8, when you open it and stir it, you will get a whiff of alcohol. By day 8 to 10, it will be very, very bubbly, which will tell you that your ferment is extremely active and it is working really well. By week 2 to 3, the bubbles would have phased out and it would be a flat liquid. So you would know that the first fermentation process is just about complete. That is where the yeast converted the sugars into alcohol. Now the Acetobacter can get to work and it can start converting the alcohol into vinegar. So by day 30, your apples would have probably sunk to the bottom. The liquid is completely flat. It doesn't smell of alcohol anymore. Instead, it smells sour, acidic. That's when you strain your apples and you're left with your liquid. Now you already have vinegar at that stage. However, you need a strong vinegar to be shelf stable. So vinegar starts at a pH of 4.5 and lower, and you can get a pH meter if you want. It's always a good thing to have if you do fermentation. But a strong vinegar is 3 to 3.5 pH. So just for safety and to make it shelf stable, I would leave a breathable lid on top for another 2 weeks to make 100% sure that all the alcohol is out and that it's a complete acetic solution. And this will assist that you can put it on your shelf instead of in your fridge. So thank you for joining me while we make some apple cider or apple vinegar. I'm going to take this and put it on my counter, but not in direct sunlight. If your kitchen is prone to mold, rather choose a little spot that does not get mold exposure, like inside a cupboard maybe. Just don't forget to stir it every day. Also, another tip, if you are keeping peels in your kitchen in a bowl but you're not emptying it every day, then you are going to be culturing mold. So you don't want this close to your ferments. So make sure to throw out your compost bowl every single day. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe and watch out for my next video, because I'm going to be making the next one now, where I'm going to be using these apples to make an apple juice and culture some Saccharomyces Boulardii, which is another potent probiotic drink. Thank you for joining me, guys. By the way, if you want to help me to make more content, you're welcome to buy me a coffee. I'll put the link in the description. Have a great day. Bye.